Honorable Mr. Justice Michael D. Wilson, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar, Dr. Jayant Krishnan, Professor Debaru Sridhar Patnaik, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Wish you all a very good evening. It is truly an honor to be present today for unveiling of the Singhvi Endowment. It is a great pleasure to be witness to the birth of a wonderful project. Having known the late Mr. Dr. L.M. Singhvi also personally and being an admirer of his life and work, I am of the firm opinion that this initiative represents the best of his views and contributions to the nation and our society. I extend my heartiest congratulations to Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi for his generous and visionary act of philanthropy. Dr. Singhvi has occupied a very important position in our legal system, and it's heartening to see him continuing giving back to it. As always, one of the best prepared lawyers. Dr. Singhvi has already very clearly enunciated his vision for the endowment. At its heart, it must be said that this project is motivated by an animation of the spirit of equality, keeping in mind that I would like to offer a few musings on the idea of enhancing access to legal education. When we think about the access, there are a few questions which naturally arise. Do we need to increase access to legal education in the first place? Is the surfeit of lawyers actually a good thing in our country? If we are to succeed in opening more pathways, what would effective access actually entail? Once such access is ensured, can we harness the skills of such young lawyers into a broader national project? It is an accepted fact in many other countries that lawyers are supposed to be a tightly knit, highly restricted, and elite class. This perhaps enhances their privileged position in their respective societies. They are the repositories of arcane knowledge, and they are highly respected because of their skill in being able to converse in this highly specialized language. However, as Indians, I posit this model is not representative of our relationship in the law and the legal profession. We are extremely large and extremely diverse country. We are also an extremely unequal country. There have been groups that have been subjugated for centuries, and there are groups that continue to be marginalized today. Yet, the vision that our Constitution proposes to us in our one individual freedom and equality. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar captured this dilemma very succinctly when he said that the constitutional morality is not a natural sentiment, it has been cultivated. We must realize that our people have yet to learn it. Democracy in India is only a top dressing on an Indian soil which is essentially undemocratic. These words continue to ring true today. In a study of certain so called elite law schools of the country, the organization IDIA found that nearly 80% of their students belong to the wealthy, English speaking urban backgrounds. It is true that such institutes produce illustrious young lawyers who go on to have an excellent career. But it is also true that this has created a phenomenon where such students invariably end up in large corporate law firms, which is the most lucrative section of the legal market in India. There are very little impetus towards a more public facing sectors, be it in governance, grassroots legal aid, or in our academic circles. But our public institutions are perhaps only the most visible casualties of our highly restricted system of legal education. The classrooms of our law schools are workshops where the content of our constitutional values is constantly interrogated, deliberated, and refined. Unlike certain other disciplines, the study of law is deeply intertwined with our social context. It is not possible to study it in abstraction or as a pure field. Areas such as labor law, constitutional law, administrative law inevitably derive much of their content from the ongoings in the world. Thus, to study them in a largely stratified and hermetically sealed environment is to strip them of their politically loaded content. More than the professor, perhaps, it is the students who carry the world outside into the classroom and who introduce each other to their own unique histories, politics, and perspectives. Scholars have noted that Dr. Ambedkar derived the concept of constitutional morality from the historian George Grote, who in turn located it within the democratic practices of the ancient Greeks. In order to arrive at a more nuanced understanding of our access to legal education, I propose that there are two other related facets of the Athenian democracy that we need to rediscover in our public spaces. They are the concepts of isegoria and parrhesia. The ancient Greeks viewed men as essentially political animals due to their ability to exercise logical thought. The arena to exercise such thought was the agora, which in those times could be likened to the open amphitheaters. Equal citizens of Athens exercise of their democratic rights by participating in the agora and by speaking about the issues of public importance. Their ability to enter the agora and speak what they call the isigoria, and this was prized as an important democratic virtue. The orator Demosthenes claimed that isigoria was analogous to the Athenian constitution, and the citizens had chosen isigoria as their way of life. The ability to enter the forum and speak went hand in hand with one's right as a citizen. In our modern stratified world, we can conceive of an expansive and multitudinous understanding of agoras. This would certainly include our universities and our classrooms, which are somewhat limited in scope but still reflective of a larger social debate. To limit access to this hugely important space is to deny the right of Isagoria to the large section of this population. Law courses are places where social hierarchies are interrogated, and this to leave a section of that population out to it fall woefully short in carrying out this endeavor. It means depriving multitudes of people their citizenship and the rights that flow from it. Further, legal education devised around the practice of a perceived majority cannot claim to be socially relevant. But at this stage, I would like to point out that if our larger project is about enhancing access to legal education, simply ensuring greater entry into the hallowed halls of elite institutions cannot be the end of the goal. We need to arrive at a more nuanced understanding of what access entails. This is why the Greek concept of isagoria is deeply connected with the concept of parrhesia. The word parrhesia had no direct analogue in the English language. It can be translated to mean the ability to speak with frankness, honesty, and with the courage to tell the truth. Parrhesia implies truly expressing what you are, your life, and your circumstances. The Greek understood that speaking the truth about oneself was the same as speaking the truth as such. Thus, speaking the truth to those in power was considered a vital facet of healthy democracy. Parrhesthesis, or the practitioners of parrhesia, would tell the Greek audience not what they wanted to hear, but what they needed to hear. When Alexander the Great asked the great cynic Diogenes if he had a wish he wanted Alexander to grant, Diogenes is said to have curtly asked Alexander to stop obstructing the source of his light. By his frankness and earnestness, Dionysus was in effect challenging the Athenian social custom where someone in his position was expected to defer to Alexander's wishes. It is easy to imagine how a vibrant exercise of parrhesia could enliven our classrooms, especially in the law schools. The transformative project of the law requires a constant challenge to orthodoxy and to the existing social mores. It is the lived experiences of social marginalization, political violence, and economic deprivation that light our paths towards imagining a more egalitarian society. These are different facets of the truth, which must be actively and consistently brought to attention. At the first sight, it is easy to say where the problems lie. Higher education in India is slowly becoming a playground of the elite due to high fees. This exorbitant fee has a knock on effect even on those who do manage to enter the institute. They are subconsciously or consciously driven to seek an immediate return on the investment and are unable to extend their energies toward pursuits which may have a long gestation period or little financial return. This is not only the hurdle in acquiring a good legal education. Legal education in India, perhaps due to its colonial antecedents, privileges a certain category of person and excludes all others. One of these categories is the English education, which immediately excludes the majority of the country. Entrance exam, while seemingly testing logical reasoning, are actually more and more becoming tests of spending power. It is common knowledge that coaching centers charge lakhs of rupees to train young aspirants. Especially in the post COVID 19 era, access to technology can also act as a barrier to digital education. Our highest legal offices have limited representations of women, which also must act as a deterrent for young girls trying to pick up their future profession. Within the legal profession, success is also determined by one's social capital and belonging in a certain network. All of these are important factors to be kept in mind as we design a more egalitarian framework for our upcoming generations. The concept of parahesia reminds us that the need to work out on excess continues even once we succeed in populating our classrooms with heterogeneous group of students. It is commonly reported that students from minority backgrounds, be it sexual, religious, or linguistic, do not feel comfortable with speaking up in the classrooms. A number of students feel a strong cultural shock since they do not recognize themselves as a space that is so unlike the one they are used to. This also leads to a slow exclusion from both curricular and extracurricular activities. The administration of institutions are thus enjoined with the critical responsibility of creating a more supportive educational environment. It is their duty to nurture space that allows for students from diverse communities to grow. Administratively, this can be done by creating reasonable accommodation, assigning empathic mentors, and providing support with soft skills. Educators can also devise a holistic, less discriminatory curriculum that opens itself to wider engagement from a diverse group of people. This curriculum can place emphasis on local practices and communities. Just recently, on a visit to Itanagar, I was made aware of a highly sophisticated system of alternate dispute resolution built on local customs practiced by the indigenous groups in Arunachal Pradesh. I believe that incorporating this tradition within our ADR curriculums not only makes it more inclusive, it also truly celebrates the diversity of India. I am happy to see that Singhvi Endowment responds to these social realities in many ways. It provides continuous support to meritorious students at General Global Law School and enables them to become the best versions of themselves in their chosen field. It must also be extremely heartening for a young student to receive such affirmation from a giant of a legal profession. I am also of the firm belief that Dr. L. M. Singhvi Memorial Lecture Series will foster a spirit of rational inquiry into our public spaces. I am certain that it shall prove to be an invaluable forum for youngster generations to engage with topics of diplomacy, international relations, dispute settlement, and global affairs with guidance of pioneers in the field. I am eagerly looking forward today towards what the future holds for students who benefit from the endowment. It is my fervent hope that their passion and ability will drive our nation to greater heights. I would like to leave you with a quote from the novelist Victor Hugo, who said that society is culpable in not providing free education for all and must answer for the night it produces. The guilty one is not who commits the sin, but he who causes the darkness. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and Jai Hind. Let me, at the inception, express a little reservation on the issue that I may have to leave earlier before the end of the session due to a prior commitment with the new Chief Justice of India taking over today. My apologies for that. Thank you.